Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to our speedrun walkthrough guide for Ultimate Alliance 3. Now, today we will be going through the Xavier Institute, which is a very pivotal portion of this speedrun, particularly if you are playing in the new game category, because there are some critical things that you'll need to do in order to succeed in this portion of the game to get the best time possible. And starting things off, we have this little stretch that brings us into the courtyard, and there are some opponents that we can breeze right past because that is an optional combat section. However, that brings you to a cutscene that you will need to skip, and then a mandatory combat section, which what I really like to do here in a new game run is I like to use Hulk to throw the car at the first sentinel because you can get them taken down very easily, and then it's just a matter of rinsing and repeating these cores into your opponents. Now, if you are playing in a New Game Plus type setting, then you may be able to do this a lot easier because of the fact that you can end up attacking into your opponents and dealing more damage in about the same time as it would take you to haphazardly track down where these cores are, especially because when you hit sentinels that have spawned in recently, they will have to finish their entry animation before they can be taken out by these cores. But the car is a really good approach to that because you don't initially have that, and you have to have a character that has the super strength trait in order to take advantage of that position. Now, from a new game playthrough, the only correction or adjustment that you're going to make at a shield point is right after this fight, because this is where you get access to Nightcrawler and Psylocke. And for a new game playthrough team, both of those characters are phenomenal for very different reasons. Nightcrawler, of course, because he has a lot better movement and is the quickest movement character in the game thanks to his fast fall speed and his teleportation on his double jump. And Psylocke is a phenomenal asset to have because she hits like a truck and has an incredibly effective extreme attack should you be choosing to use that. So if you're playing in a new game run, make sure that you add both of those characters to your team at this point in time. From there, the run's really going to pick up because Nightcrawler is going to be able to get through a lot of the trickier sections, including this optional combat section with the two sentinels that are hanging out on the side of the mansion for whatever reason. You'll just want to quickly make your way back to the basketball court, and then you will need to interact with Beast, skip the dialogue, skip the cutscene that comes immediately thereafter, and then you have the Infinity Sentinel that you'll have to take on. This fight is fairly straightforward, and again, from a new game standpoint, what you'll want to do is take out these Sentinels because they will really help you with attacking into the Infinity Sentinel because those cores do massive amounts of damage to this opponent. And you can see that that core has gone all the way up due to the gravity wave that he had and exploded right into him. And I'm pretty sure it's because I have those ISOs that are increasing the amount of damage from weapons that are deployed by the stage that went out as quickly as it did. But nevertheless, that is a critical movement to make in a speedrun. Now, the next portion we have is the Magneto, Mystique, Juggernaut fight that comes in here. And what you will have to do in this setting is you will need to throw the fight in a new game run. You are not going to be able to take out these opponents and make any sort of headway. So the best method for you to get through this fight, and it's kind of the intended method for new game playthroughs, you will want to throw this fight. And that is fairly easy if you know where to go. Basically what you'll need to do is you will need to focus on these attacks from Juggernaut and the attacks from Magneto, as those are the ones that hit harder. Now, when it comes to a New Game Plus run, you want to defeat any one of these three combatants in order to continue in through the next section of the game. And Mystique is by far the weakest of the group and the easiest to take out. As soon as you have her taken out, you'll trigger a cutscene that you can skip, and then you have a little hallway chase section that you can switch back over to Nightcrawler for in order to get away from Juggernaut. And really, it's just a matter of avoiding the debris that's in the hallway. I'm not entirely sure why there's debris in the hallway, because Juggernaut hasn't got to that part of the game yet, so it's kind of fine where it is. But that's really the biggest thing to note there. You can then make your way into the Xavier Institute and down into the holding cell, which is where the next fight will take place. And this one is one that you can do fairly easily, because Juggernaut on his own in this circumstance, for whatever reason, is not nearly as big of a threat. So you just need to make your way into this arena as quickly as possible, and then finish the fight off in a timely manner and fashion. And just like this, you can stagger out Juggernaut. Of course, this is going faster because I do have a stronger team, but that's the general gist of what you'll want to do. And these canisters that are along the wall can help, but they don't do a whole lot to Juggernaut, so honestly not the best use of your time. From here, you'll need to skip into that hallway. This is an unskippable cutscene. There's no way around it. You can't do anything about it, but it is kind of a cool moment where you have Colossus bearing down onto Juggernaut, and they're going to slug it out behind these doors, and we really don't know what the outcome to that fight is, but it's kind of a cool little moment. Now, from here, you'll make your way into the danger room, where Mystique is going to send a couple of trials at you. Again, from a new game standpoint, this is fairly straightforward. You've just got to make your way through the 3 different waves of combat. From a new game plus run, what you will want to do to get through this as quickly as possible is set up a soul siphon for Thanos Infinite in order to get through the opponents that are summoned in here and kind of gravitate them into the center of the room. And just like that, you have the first section of the fight done. You then rinse and repeat that same pattern going into sections 2 and 3. Section 2 is a little bit of a nuisance because of the floor traps that are present, but you can make your way through this section of the fight very easily as well. And as you can see, that dimensional warp that he has where he rushes down on his opponents works really well to burst through those opponents that are caught within that soul siphon in the middle of this battle arena. So it's just a matter of rinsing and repeating that same action a couple of times through the center here in order to finish things off. And just like that, we have all the sections finished off. I do recommend taking a brief second and switching to Nightcrawler before this cutscene. You can then skip through the cutscene and make your way towards this door. Now, this is just another little hallway section that you'll need to run through in order to get to some of the final areas, and particularly the final boss fights that you'll need to get through. Now, in a new game run, a lot of these fights end up being better off if you intentionally throw them, but the fight that we're coming into here against Magneto is not one of those fights. As a matter of fact, you need to clear this one out in order to succeed. And from a New Game Plus standpoint, you can get your way through this pretty quickly and pretty efficiently. But if you're in a new game run, he'll have an attack where he sits here in the center. He will draw your opponents, or draw your team members in with kind of a gravity wave similar to that Soul Siphon. And he will even bring in a couple of Sentinels that you can take out to gather their cores and throw them at Magneto for massive amounts of damage. But from here, you can skip this cutscene, and here is the last combat section that you will need to get through without intentionally throwing. Again, New Game Plus, you just kind of need to make your way through this fight as best you can. If you are in a New Game Plus scenario, of course, Thanos Infinite is going to do very well by soul siphoning all of the opponents into one central location and barreling through them. Or you can switch over to Black Panther to finish them off at this point. From here, you are going to end up in 2 different fights that you will need to intentionally throw. There is initially the fight that is just against Corvus Glaive, and then there is a fight that is against that is against Proxima Midnight. So with that attack that he just opened, where he sends out a series of rapid strikes, that will melt through your health, and it's actually a great move to intentionally run into to run down your health and intentionally throw that fight in a new game run. So make sure that you can get as many of your characters or your team members into the path of attack from those characters, or from Corvus when he unleashes that. From here, there's a cutscene that you can skip again, and that is going to take you into a fight against both Proxima and Corvus, which again, if you are playing this in a new game run, you will want to intentionally throw this fight as well, because you're not going to get through it, and even if you were to sit through and slug it out and play overcautiously, it's just going to take up way too much time. So make sure that you throw your fight as quickly as you can. Again, Corvus is a very good opponent to focus on, especially when he has his rapid fire strikes that he's throwing at you, to throw that fight as quickly as possible. And then, you know, you have an unskippable cutscene that you have to get through. You will want to switch back over to Nightcrawler here to make your way down this battlefield as quickly as you can, and kind of keep your way away from Proxima as she sends out her lightning arcs here. But if you stay far enough ahead of her, she will obliterate the obstacles ahead of time, so you don't have to worry about them as you're being thrown. Eventually, you will reach a point where a cutscene takes over. You can skip through this cutscene. That will take you into the Dark Dimension, which is what we will cover next week. And this area can be a little bit tricky, so make sure that you tune in for this for some of those critical strategies once we get to this point. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure that you leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe for that daily variety content, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day.